Hey everyone, how's it going? Coming to y'all with another Inexpensive Knife Series episode, and this one is on the Smith & Wesson CK105. This particular one is in blue. They make this in all sorts of different colors and different brands. I know that sounds crazy, but Smith & Wesson obviously does not actually make their knives. The company, or the knife company Smith & Wesson, or the licensing, I suppose I should say, for Smith & Wesson knives is owned by Taylor Brands. However, I don't even believe Taylor makes their own knives. They feel like they're probably made by a mass production company over in China, because I've seen the same knife with so many different brandings on it. I've seen Remington brandings, I've seen Schrade brandings, which is the same company, to be fair. I've seen Sarge, I've seen Caterpillar. There are just a ton of different companies that put their brand on this exact same knife, maybe with minor handle change differences. So that leads me to believe that they're all coming from the same people and are getting laser etched logos on the blade whenever they get here. Not a huge deal though. It just means you can find it in a wide variety of colors. This particular one is the blue. Under the Smith & Wesson branding, they also make it in a black, a desert tan, and a silver. Okay? And then by other brandings, you can find it in red, green, flat gray, so on and so forth. Start out by showing you the box. This is how it comes to you. This is, you know, pretty typical of Smith & Wesson knives. Just a simple, generic branded box. Okay? Manufactured by BTI Tools, which is the Taylor company, made in China. Here we have our model number, CK105BL. The other side, we have our SKU number for the warehouse it was in. And then inside there is some warranty and safety information, which is all cool. And then, yeah, California Proposition 65 warrant, whatever. Okay, so that's the box. Trying to get in the habit of showing these off because some people want to know what the packaging looks like, so there it is. But this is the Smith & Wesson's Extreme Ops CK105. Before we get into the review, let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room, and that is that this is a copied design. No, I don't give a damn. And the reason is because I feel like a lot of the, you know, the knife ethics and politics and quote-unquote morals are a little ridiculous. Because I've been a part of so many different hobbies over the years, it's unreal. And if every one of those groups of people acted like knife guys act, then no one would ever buy anything. You know, I've been a competitive card gaming guy for years, I've been a musician for years, I've been into all sorts of different hobbies and collecting. And people, only the knife community really addresses design copies like this so harshly. If everyone refused to buy any non-Glock polymer gun, then there would be a lot less sales. If every guitar player said, yeah, I'm not going to buy that, it's a Les Paul copy, the electric guitar market would be dried up by about 1/3. So I don't mind the fact that this is a copy design. What is it copying? It's actually copying one of my favorite everyday carry knives ever. This is the Gerber Harsey Air Ranger. The aluminum version, this is an older 425M blade one, made in Taiwan. But yeah, you can see this is very clearly a copied design from the Gerber Harsey Air Ranger. And this is one of my favorite EDC knives and has been for a very long time. So, does that make me dislike the Smith & Wesson? Nope. Just makes me like it even better. Because while I love this knife, I do also love these. I love the handle color variations. The ergonomics are relatively the same. Some cool lightning holes in there. Doesn't really do anything to reduce weight, but it does make it look nice. So, all that being said, I have no problems with them copying my beloved Harsey Air Ranger. In fact, I might make some comparisons to the knife throughout the video review. Let's go ahead and start with the blade. We have a 3.2 inch, they call it a drop point blade. To me, it's pretty much the same as the clip point blade on the Harsey Air Ranger. Again, just bring that in for comparison. But 3.2 inch blade made from 7CR17 MOV. 7CR17 MOV is the Chinese equivalent of 440A. For everyday carry, it is completely adequate. People get so caught up in what steels their knives are using, and the vast majority of them will never use it beyond, you know, slicing up a steak, opening up a package that came in the mail, maybe slicing into a blister card, whatever the case may be. That's all they'll ever use their EDC knives for. And for those tasks, 7CR17 is adequate. It's perfectly fine. It's actually pretty rust resistant, more so than American 440A in my experience. And it's actually great for the average Joe who doesn't, who's not super into knives, because it's damn easy to sharpen and takes a very nice edge. This one is wearing a razor sharp edge, and it did come relatively sharp out of box. You can see we do have a mid-blade grind, hollow grind, and in my carry and use, it does slice extremely well for what it is, okay? Every bit as well, if not better, to the original Air Ranger, and that's because when we come in here and look at the grinds, the Smith & Wesson grind starts higher than the Air Ranger does, okay? This is a lower grind, this is backed up higher. So in my experience, this slice is perhaps just a bit better than the Air Ranger. One of the areas in which it does fall short, though, is the tip out of box. Let's see if I can bring this in. Is not the most precise. Okay, it is a somewhat rounded tip, as opposed to the true Air Rangers, which have a nice needle sharp tip on them. I'll see if I can show you that. Side by side, Smith & Wesson on the top, Gerber on the bottom. You can see the tip is a bit more blunted. It's not completely rounded, it will still penetrate, but it definitely takes more effort. Okay, we do have some jimping top spine of the blade, and it does lock your thumb in nicely. It's a beautifully jimped knife, and even though it's a broad cut pattern as compared to the sharper cut pattern on the Air Ranger, it works every bit as well. Knife deploys quickly, it locks up solidly, no play up and down, no play up and down, no play side to side, and if it ever did develop play, we could simply adjust it with, focus, there we go, with our T8 pivot point. Okay, and it is double-headed pivot screw. Moving on to the handle, we have a cast aluminum handle. It is not a high-end aluminum like the 6061 T6 aircraft aluminum on the Air Rangers. It is more of just a lower-end cast aluminum handle, but it does work just fine. The knife is comfortable in hand, pretty much the same ergonomics as the Air Ranger. And it is a Linerlock design, by the way, just like the Air Ranger. The fit and finish on the handle is fine. Okay, the texturing does nothing to add for grip. See if I can bring you in here and show you the quality of the aluminum. Maybe you can see it on camera, maybe you can't. It's not the same grade as a higher-end aircraft aluminum knife. But it doesn't really need to be. We do have some holes drilled into the handle. They're basically lightning holes. It doesn't reduce the weight by too much, but it does make the knife, fairly lightweight. 2.85 ounces, so 2.8 ounces, 2.9 ounces, depending on your point of view. It is extremely easy to carry, with a caveat. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to bring in the cutlery lever pocket and show you how the Gerber Air Ranger rides. Okay? In my opinion, it rides perfectly. I would prefer tip up, but as far as how deep it carries relatively low with just enough to grab onto the knife and extract it. So why have I avoided showing the other side of this knife? Because I've changed the pocket clip. Because the one that comes on the knife stock is garbage. Here's a Remington branded version of the knife, okay, in the green. The previous owner of this one, by the way, beat the living hell out of it. They actually batoned with it, and that caused him to lose the pivot screw, and listen to this. It's developed a lot of blade play. Not the fault of the knife. The previous owner abused it. I'll probably just take these handle scales off and put them on another Smith & Wesson that I plan on ordering, because I will probably go crazy and try to collect all the different colors just because it's fun and I love the design. Alright, but I'm bringing this one in to show you, for one, the different brandings that this knife comes in, and for two, the stock clip. That clip is garbage, okay? And I don't mean necessarily intention. This one is super tight. So it holds the pocket really well, but you can see how much will be exposed in carry. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and just put it here next to the knife that it's copying, and look at that. I cannot get that down any further. That is how much knife you will have sticking out of the pocket. So roughly, what is that, a third of the handle, maybe a little under a third of the handle, just banging around outside the pocket. That's a lot to have hanging out of the pocket, because this could bump into something and just knock the knife out. Not with as tight as this clip is, but it's just far too much exposure from the pocket for me. So I modified the blue one. This is wearing a Columbia River Knife and Tool squid pocket clip, and it didn't fit perfectly. You might be able to see it's a little bit, angled in there. Maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. But it works well enough, because now If I can get this in here. There we go. It carries every bit as deeply as the original Air Ranger. But it was a modification that I needed to make to the knife in order to just be able to bear carrying it. Okay, stock clip, modified clip, clip of what it's copying. Overall, my preference between all three is the original, just because it's not a loop over clip, so it feels a little more natural to extract it from the pocket. Whereas when you have a loop over clip that isn't fully deep carry, you kind of bump into it when you're trying to extract the knife. A little bit awkward, but this is much better than this is. Okay, this is an abomination. However, with the new clip on here, it is extremely easy to carry, and I do EDC this relatively regularly. By the way, the blade centering on here is pretty spot on. This is a sub $15 knife. Perfect lockup and beautiful blade centering. Now keep in mind that your experience with these knives may vary because they are a cheaper knife, and therefore the quality control may be a little bit inconsistent. Okay, there is a lanyard hole. I don't know if you could fit your 550 cord through there. You probably could. You might have to shove it a little bit, but I bet you can get it through there. I mentioned the Linerlock before. I don't know if I mentioned that it is not a captured Linerlock like the Air Ranger is. Okay, you can see how the Air Ranger uses a milled out aluminum handle, and the liner is a smaller piece of steel that rests inside of that. It's not a full steel liner. Whereas on the Smith & Wesson, we do indeed have a full steel liner. Thickness of the handle is, well, thicker than the Air Ranger, which is because of that slab of steel. So keep that in mind. It won't be as thin in the pocket. Still thin and still comfortable to carry with the new clip, but not as thin as the original. One thing I want to mention is, while the knife does function and performs well, yeah, there will be some quality control issues in terms of aesthetics. It won't affect how the knife performs, won't affect how the knife works for you or functions for you, but you will notice them. Again, maybe you can't see it on camera, but that aluminum has some almost unpolished looks to it underneath that blue coating. And if we look in here at the pivot point, which by the way it has Teflon washers, as you can see, but you can see that unfinished steel tang. Okay? Does it affect how the knife performs? No. Not at all. Not even a little bit. But you can see that look of unpolished steel, which is kind of unavoidable for the most part. Okay, maybe not unavoidable. Sand Remu doesn't seem to have these issues most of the time. But, you know, generally, it is something that comes with the territory of being a more affordable knife. Alright, so that was pretty much everything I had to say about it. It's a pretty excellent little folding knife for what it is. I do like it. I just think that it needed some modifications to that pocket clip to make it really worth carrying. If you're unwilling or unable to modify the pocket clip or put a new clip on here, you may want to look for other options. Speaking of which, let's have a look at the other options. While I've been showing off the Gerber Air Ranger the entire video, I know you can't find these plain edge ones with the aluminum handles anymore. You can find the plain edge with the G10, and you can find the aluminum with the combo edge. Maybe you just buy both and swap the blades and hope that works. But they come in generally around $25 or less, so about $10 more than the Smith & Wesson. The modern versions of this knife use 7CR17 MOV as well. In my experience with Gerber 7CR17 and Smith & Wesson 7CR, which is better? Smith & Wesson. I know, it's crazy, but a lot of the Gerber 7CR17 these days is just too damn soft, and I've had better edge holding out of my Smith & Wessons than I have them. If you can get this older 425M version, or go back even further to the original OS 8 versions, you'll definitely have a better blade. But as they come from the factory, these days, the Smith & Wesson will be a little bit better in terms of edge holding. In other regards, I'd probably go for a modern Air Ranger, but I don't know. The blade steel is a bit of a downside if you use your knife frequently. I did a review on this one before, the Sheffield Gunnison, okay? 440A blade, 6061 T6 aluminum, hollow ground, Sabenza style drop point, also a Linerlock. Deep carry clip. The clip on this one is far better than this one. I may not prefer deep carry clips myself, but I would far rather have it in this case over the the flawed abortion that was the stock clip. On Amazon right now for 15 bucks or less. It is an option in this price range. And what else do I have to show off? How about this? How about the Gonzo G738? Okay, Gonzo Firebird. Now this is a bigger knife. okay? But not by a whole hell of a lot. This is a 440C blade, the G-lock, basically an axis lock. Deploys smoothly, locks up solidly. There's no play in this thing right now. Much better clip, positionable right hand and left hand tip up carry. Pretty good centering. Overall price tag, I got this one for 16 bucks on Amazon. If I had to choose between the Gonzo and the Smith & Wesson, which would I pick? The Gonzo. But it's a very different knife. Definitely expect a review on this one, though. I'm loving the hell out of this knife. Overall, the Smith & Wesson CK105 is a pretty decent knife. Not amazing, not horrible, but if you're looking for a, you know, basically a plain edge air ranger and you can't seem to find any, this is a decent enough proxy for that knife. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day, and until next time, peace, and take care.